So feel free to chat it up. Welcome everybody. My name is Nicole Dumaguindin. I got my master's in global medicine from USC, and I'm currently a community mental health promoter, doing a lot of grassroots mental health work with Asian Pacific Counseling Treatment Centers in Riverside County. I work very closely with Nicole Dumaguindin out here because we need more and more folks doing Filipino mental health work, especially with a social justice orientation. This workshop is called SALAMIN. For those who know Tagalog, SALAMIN is a mirror, right? How do we examine mental health stigma through theater of the oppressed? Why the word Salamin? Because if you know who Bertolt Brecht is, he is a playwright who did a lot of also social justice oriented work. And he said that art is not just a mirror to reflect reality, but a hammer with which to shape it. So keep that in mind. I like to do a lot of wordplay, and it helps to kind of just drive through points. And we're gonna go really fast because I only have 45 minutes, but this slide deck will be available for you all in the future. And if you would like to have this workshop for in other activities or things like that, feel free to contact me and we can do a more expanded, more thorough sort of run through, right? So if you can, please sign in here, APCTC link for demographics so we know who's attending, and the location you're gonna put on there is Mid-County. Just a little bit of an overview. We're gonna go through intentions. What's the difference between traditional theater versus theater of the oppressed? We're going to demo forum theater, a little bit of mental health 101. The specific topic is psychosis and bipolar disorder. Then we're gonna close with that demo, and then just go into open Q&A. Wow, hi Brittany. Welcome. Shout out to all those who are coming in from the Inland Empire, right? So for this workshop, basically, we're here to just experiment, explore, and heal, have fun, and then just gain a deeper understanding on what's happening in our community in terms of mental health, stigma, things like that, ground rules, right? We want this to be a safe space. There will be an improv game. Please be wholesome, right? We want to keep it a safe space, be respectful, be non-judgmental of yourself and others. So what exactly is the difference between traditional theater and theater of the oppressed? Well, the very first theater emerged through Greek and Japanese traditions. They were centered around spirituality and rituals. These were things that upheld the status quo. They were inaccessible. It was a production run by a production manager. So one person running the whole show, making all the decisions and choices. There was a one-way relationship between the actors, the audience, and the playwright, right? And the output was a play. Fast forward all the way to the 1970s, there's a lot of social upheaval, and Augusto Boal, who's the pedagogical cousin of Paulo Freire, who did Pedagogy of the Oppressed, created theater of the oppressed in the face of the Brazilian dictatorship. He was inspired by the peasants and workers. And so the concept of what he was creating was that this was a production not run by one person, but by all the people involved. They have dynamic relationships, and the output isn't a static performance, but something that was transformative. So it's an actual workshop. And so this is kind of how we can imagine what exactly is theater of the oppressed. It's a tree, right? From its roots of taking words, sounds, and images from our concrete material surroundings and putting it up into games, right? Games that emerge into image theater, which is how do we sculpt our bodies on stage to create scenes and to change it, right? Same thing with forum theater. How do we take a scenario of oppression and then transform it into a solution of liberation? And then it comes into it's expressed in different ways. It can take the form of direct action, legislative theater. But today we're going to explore what's called forum theater. And in forum theater, the purpose is to transform the spectators or the audience into what's called spect actors, who have the power to stop the oppression, to stop the health disparity, and to change the way it's performed. So it's very much how do we come up with solutions to the situations that we see around us, right? There's different roles. The facilitator is called a joker, and the reason why is because in a lot of folklore and mythology, the joker is kind of the person who's an agent of social change, right? They trick the elite, they trick the current system, and they fuck shit up, right? In the most creative way that they could, because it takes a lot of creativity to disrupt and dismantle things so that it is no longer in the interest of the elite, but in the interest of the oppressed, right? And so these are the directions. Basically, I will be the joker, and I will facilitate 3 volunteers, 2 of which will be actors doing a bit of improv, and then 1 will be the spect actor, right? And you're going to create an improv scene based on the scenario that I'm going to put on the screen. And in the first round, the 2 actors will create that 2-minute skit. It's really short, you know, it's very raw. It's very revealing of where the actors are coming from in their background knowledge. So it's kind of like, I guess you can say like a pre-assessment, understanding their baseline of where they're at, right? And the spect actor will just observe. And then in this workshop, after we understand the baseline of where the volunteers and I guess us are coming from, I'm going to talk about psychosis, bipolar disorder, give a bit of mental health education. And then the hope is that now that you have this piece of education, in round 2, the actors will replay that scene exactly the same way, but the spect actor, that third person, will be able to stop the scene, use the knowledge that they just learned, and change the direction of what's happening, whether it's to, they can step into either character, change the choices, change things, right? Come up with a solution. So it's very much like reenactment work. It'll be fun. So I do need 3 volunteers. If you would like to be a volunteer, please indicate that to the staff, and we will pin you on the screen. So this means, yes, you do have to turn on your video and turn on your mic. And so it's less scary. This is the scenario that we're going to go through. You're going to make a 2-minute skit, right? No judgment. The scenario is you are de-escalating a Filipino relative from an episode of psychosis. So just, you know, if you don't know that much about psychosis, that's fine. But basically what it is a person is experiencing a disconnect from reality, however that may be, right? So I'm going to stop sharing. And if you would like to volunteer for this, we need 3 people. Raise your hand if you would like to participate. Not the staff will participate. Okay, let's have the staff participate. Hello, hello. Let's have a pin going.
Did anyone indicate? Okay, we got 2. I'm gonna pin y'all. And then Nicole, I'm also gonna pin you if I can find you. Pin and a hand. And then we just need 1 more. Anybody?
How do I see who's pinned?
Well, because you're pinned, you can't see who's pinned, but you can see it in the participants. So I can see who's pinned. Yeah. If you just open up participants. Yeah. Okay, cool. Aw, it's okay,
Okay,
Erin. Oh, okay.
cool.
I got one. Dr. Eileen. Okay, wait.
So our participants are Dr. Eileen and who is it? Angelica? AJ?
Hachi and Jasmine.
Hachi, Jasmine. All right. So among the three of you, who would like to be the spect actor? That means the remaining two are going to be the actors. Dr. Eileen, is
Yeah, can you describe the roles again? I'm sorry.
oh,
I
no
forgot.
worries, no. Okay, so there's the actors, the two who will do the improv scene, and then the spectator is just the person who will watch, but will later on change the scene. They will step into
Okay.
character.
Okay. I'd like to be one of the actors if possible.
Cool. Okay, and then either Jasmine or Kachi.
I'll be the spectator.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we have Jasmine and Dr. Eileen. The scenario that you guys have to act out is de-escalating a Filipino relative who is having an episode of psychosis. Okay, so I'm gonna give you like 2 minutes to act out that scene with each other. Are you ready? I have a
No.
timer.
Just kidding.
Okay, just to clarify, would
Yes.
it that Dr. Eileen and I are the ones that are trying to de-escalate the situation?
One of you will be the relative, one of you will
Okay.
de-escalate. So that's the scenario we're going to see.
I can be the relative.
Okay. Any other
Okay.
questions? No? Okay. Ready and go.
So there's an angel sitting over there and they keep talking to me and they're telling me to go outside. Should I go outside, Justin?
Um, it's I'm
It's
not
telling
sure.
me, I'm gonna get up and go outside now and walk
Oh,
outside.
where can you? Who's the angel? Have you met them before?
Yes, it looks like my grandmother.
Oh, okay. And how
Yes,
many times have they come to visit you before?
all the time, every night. I need to go. I need to get up and go now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm gonna
But
go visit
why?
them.
What are they asking you to go outside for?
They want me to go. They said I've been bad, and so I need to go and ask for forgiveness from God. And so I need to get up and go. And there's also I need to bring that bucket there, the bucket of food, because they're very hungry too.
Okay, so is it okay if I go with you to go outside wherever the
Yes,
angel needs to go?
yes, you come with me.
Okay,
Yes,
where
come.
outside are we going?
We're gonna go to that old car outside. You come with me.
Are we gonna stay at the car or are we going?
I don't know, but you come. Let's go now.
Oh,
And scene. All right, thank you. Thank you for that. I made it to like a minute and 15 seconds. How is that for you all? Big hand of applause. Yay, thank you. Okay, so for us here looking at the new public health, right? This is a way for us to engage folks who like come from all different backgrounds, get them to express and open up with their knowledge without taking like a survey sort of thing. And now the part is once we know kind of where they're coming from, we've observed kind of like how they think a scenario will play out. Let's see how they change things up with a bit of knowledge. I don't know if folks come in here with a bit of mental health background or who have taken like mental health workshops before. let's see. But so some of this information is going to be a little bit redundant. Can folks see the slides? Yes.
Go
Okay,
ahead
cool.
and switch screens if you could.
How does that work?
There is. Is it up top? Is it? Oh, go to show taskbar.
How about this one? Does this work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Got you.
All right. So just a quick scenario. These are lots of words and text again. It'll be made available to you. But the basic point is that like mental health conditions do exist in our community. They are going unaddressed, right? It's so severe that in this study made by the CDC, in this chart, suicide was the second leading cause of death among API youth, right, in the period of 1999 to 2017. And not only that, it's an intergenerational issue. We have very low rates of accessing mental health care. A lot of that is due to stigma associated with mental health problems, right? Part of doing these theater exercises is also a way for us to unpack the stigma that exists when we think about what may happen in those scenarios based on various things that influence us, whether it's beliefs that we heard growing up, things that we ingest through the media. So what does it sound like? These are quotes from articles of Filipinos in the Philippines, right? So part of where our beliefs around mental health and that culture and that stigma is trying to understand what's happening in our country of origin, right? So a lot of it has to do with beliefs around spiritual, superstitious, things that don't necessarily come from a place of science, even though the science does exist out there, right? So in this psychiatrist, she said, you need to have the correct language. It's not enough to just explain the medical side. You have to tap into how they understand the spirit, the soul, and the mind, and how all those things are connected if we were to unpack stigma. And then just a quick overview, right? We all understand mental health as emotional, social, and psychological well-being. It's not just the absence of an infirmity or a disorder, but it's how we can sustain our emotional, psychological state, right? And of course, some of these examples of mental disorders that disrupt our work and daily activities can be things from depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. If you take mental health first aid, that course, they will show this chart. And it shows a chart of being well, becoming unwell, and all the way to recovery. And the point is that wherever you may land at any day in your life or loved one's life, you need to have access to the tools to bring you back to a state of wellness. So what exactly is bipolar disorder? You can see in this sort of artistic representation, it's the highs and the lows, the feelings of manic and the feelings of depression. So a little bit of interaction, right? True or false, bipolar disorder is just mood swings, which everyone has. True or false? It is false, right? The mood swings, the highs and lows that people with bipolar disorder experience are so severe and intense that they do disrupt their everyday life, right? It is a chronic mental disorder, which is why it is so important to seek the treatment and support and resources as early as you can to have the best outcomes, right? And I put down here that it is not a character flaw or a sign of weakness. When we orient ourselves to think that way about any disease, any disorder that carries a lot of stigma and shame to it and does not help the situation, right? Which is why I was really happy that as Jasmine was responding to Dr. Eileen, she was doing so in a very non-judgmental, very affirming way. So kudos to that. And just like anything, without treatment, things can get more severe. It affects everything from family life, financial problems, and of course, in the most severe scenarios, like it can result in death. True or false, bipolar disorder is a rare condition. False. So these are a few statistics, right? It's common in both men, women, youth, young adults. Around half the people with bipolar disorder experience their first episode around 25. So where are folks at 25? Who in the room is 25, right? These are things that, like, if we knew, early on, that we can be aware of our community and like be more watchful of how we can care for each other if we notice signs and symptoms either among ourselves or our loved ones, right? And then when we look at statistics of how high suicide, depression, and things like that are in our community, you break it down even further. 25% of those may be from people suffering with bipolar disorder. So it's a lot more common than we think it is, right? And then this is just a list, like, oh, just because you have this condition doesn't mean you can accomplish great things, right? For some community members, when they see like their icons and their role models, like, oh, wow, if not only do they have access to things, but like we can do things, even if we do have this, we can make great art, we can express, we can experience the world and share that in a way that's meaningful. So what exactly are the symptoms, right? Another true or false question. Mania is productive. You're in a good mood and you're fun to be around. Is that true or false? Yeah, it's tricky, but it's false. And the reason why is because if left untreated, those episodes of mania can result in a lot of very reckless behavior. It can result in situations where safety is definitely a concern. So it's really important to understand how we can support the person to maintain a healthy and safe mood and interaction and relationship with the world around them, right? In other instances too, psychosis can be a part of manic episodes. So this is a list of symptoms. I know I see things popping up in the chats. I can't address them right now, but towards the end, I will make time to. This will also be available, but just an overview, right? When people have a manic or depressive episode, it can last for hours, it can even last for days or even weeks, depending on the person's individual situation and their treatment plan, how they are able to stick to it, the support network that they have, various factors, right? And when we talk about what exactly are the risk factors for developing bipolar disorder, it's a combination of all three of these things, whether it's biological, environmental, psychological, right? I highlighted it on here, like if you have at least one close relative with bipolar or major depression, that's also a risk. And what's important to know is that in our community, the Filipino community, we have high rates of major depression. So this is definitely something that we need to be vigilant and understanding about. And also, a lot of BIPOC communities experience trauma. So trauma is definitely a risk factor in developing things like bipolar disorder and other mental health conditions. But when we increase the protective factors in our community, we decrease the impact of the risk factors that exist. So when we do the work and when we have access to effective mental health care, when we sustain our community, when we address all these social determinants to help, right, we are increasing the ways that we can care for each other and decreasing the severity of mental health conditions, including bipolar disorder, right? The next question, true or false? Bipolar disorder can be cured through diet and exercise. It is false. And the reason why is because bipolar disorder is not necessarily curable, but it is treatable. And there are various ways to go about that, various combinations depending on what the patient and their community have access to, what fits their situation, right? Whether it's psychotherapy, medication, going to those facilities that are supportive and safe, right? Knowing where they are, support groups, as well as psychoeducation, a whole community, whole family approach. So it's not just the burden of the individual to treat their disorder, but the entire community there to like support them and be alongside them in that journey. Psychosis, what is it, right? This is a picture of how bad the stigma of psychosis is in our community. We see them as monsters. We see them as the Joker, right? In Batman. Is that really true? No. In the Filipino community, when we think of psychosis, postpartum psychosis, the image is Sisa from Jose Rizal's famous novel. It's so bad that like there's a statue of her in front of the National Center for Mental Health in the Philippines, right? It's an image of a woman who is emotionally distraught over the loss of her children, right? So when we try to understand, like, why is it so hard to open up these conversations around psychosis and mental health? It is because since the inception of like, you know, colonization and all that trauma, and we see its effect on like our mothers and things like that, that has been carried and caricaturized and over theatricized and turned into a spectacle that haunts our ideas of mental health. So what is psychosis? The very basic definition, a person has lost some contact with reality, right? It can include hallucinations, smelling, tasting, hearing, or envisioning things, right? In the scene that we saw, Dr. Eileen was saying that she was hearing the voice of an angel asking her to go outside. Right? These can be brought on by brain chemistry. They can also be brought on by substances as well. How common is it, right? It can happen to anyone. It's treatable. It is not contagious. And it does not mean that the person has a split personality. Just like any other mental health condition, there are risk factors and there are protective factors, right? If the person has a history of psychotic disorders, they're under certain medication, histories of trauma, right? Trauma. That's why it's so important to do trauma healing, because it impacts so many other things, right? It's like what you would call the primary contribution almost, right? And what does it look like to protect our community or to increase these protective factors? It does include, you know, good nutrition, strong supportive connections, understanding how substances impact us, and early intervention, effective mental health care. So true or false, a person with psychotic symptoms is dangerous. False, right? Me and Nico actually experienced a case in Riverside County where there was an elder, a Filipino elder who only spoke Kapampangan and Tagalog. She was having psychotic symptoms, and the fear was that she was gonna hurt the people around her that she did not trust, right? But she was not dangerous. She was just really afraid. She was very scared. She was coming from a place of trauma that was so unaddressed and severe that you know, people were scared of her. So it's like two scared things in a room, and there's a mental crisis and stigma, and who's there on the front line? It's us, right? In that situation where we had to help them understand like the emergency mobile crisis teams. Those teams, the client could not trust because they only spoke English or Spanish, right? How do we know, right? What are some signs to look out for? It can show up as like a sudden drop in performance. It looks like unusual or intense new ideas, strange feelings, and of course that difficulty of telling reality from fantasy, which we saw in the scene. So additional warning signs, right? Unusual perceptual experiences. Sometimes they'll feel like they taste chalk, right? They have a taste, or tingling sensations, right? That's the start of the disconnect from the concrete reality, right? And of course, different disorders where this may be occurring, including drug-induced psychosis. right? And without early intervention, the result is poor long-term functioning, slower psychological maturation, things like that. So this is why it's so important to understand that it may not be curable, but it is treatable at so many levels. And as cultural stigma does exist, right? What does it look like? It looks like the belief that we can do this on our own, fear of letting family down, shame, embarrassment. But there are ways to help, right? So I'm hoping that when we reenact the scene, that we can apply these things, right? These are the steps. This is the education components. Observe, be supportive, hopeful, and patient. And when the person has those delusions, right, you don't dismiss or argue. You respond without agreeing to them, and you help guide them to be grounded, to understand what's happening, right? So I will share these things later on. We're running out of time. These are resources, right? We have a grief support group in Riverside County, crisis lines, specific crisis lines, urgent care centers. They're really cool. It's like recliners and you get to watch Netflix while waiting to have a session. API specific resources, and let's do a Zoom poll before we jump into our closing, our last leader scene. It is 11:30. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going through the chat. Is it cool that we do the Zoom poll now? Like, if we need to take a breath and then. Okay. So here we go. Is it on? Is it?
I just launched it. It takes less than 5 minutes. That really helps. Makes our work, especially if you are from a nonprofit space, it makes it sustainable for us to continue doing this work. And seeing faces like Nicole, myself, and others who are also in the public health field, that are also in the nonprofit fields, it also makes our work continue to be sustainable too as well, and shows to government officials that having us in these spaces work out. They're important.
Yep, holding space in institutions that really don't want to hold space. So this is important. Again, these resources will be made available to y'all. And I apologize, I went so fast. Please fill out the survey. Thank you all.
We have 10 minutes left. Are you gonna field questions and continue the second demonstration?
Yes, so if we can prepare by like pinning Jasmine, Dr. Eileen, and Chachi again, right? And then, so in this round, basically, you will reenact, the two actors are going to reenact that scene the same way that they did. But at any point in that scene, Chachi can say stop, and she can take the place of one of the actors, one of the characters, and she can change the choice that that character is making. So she can either step into Dr. Eileen's role, who is experiencing the psychosis, or she can step into Jasmine's role, who is the person trying to de-escalate, right? So can we do that as folks are still doing the survey, or should we just finish the survey first? And it gives them time to prepare.
There's 4 people left trying to finish the survey. And you have 8 minutes left, so it's really up to you how you want to manage this time. I mean, if you are timing the second run of Forum Theater, like, up to you.
Okay.
You have plenty of time for the Forum Theater, just as like how we still have a lot of time for folks, everyone to answer the feedback survey.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, how are folks feeling right now? You okay? Just imagine if this, like ideally, at least an hour and a half would be great to like run this sort of workshop. There's other forms of theater of the oppressed to incorporate. Would be like really amazing. That obviously would do really well in person. Whenever I try to do this on Zoom, try to do Zoom-based scenarios. So like one of the scenarios I did with Nico was you're doing a family Zoom, a multiracial family Zoom for Thanksgiving, right? Or a 21st birthday on Zoom that's Vegas themed or something like that, right? You come up with all these different scenarios depending on what your topic is.
I think the funnest one was the 21st because I was the youngest in that group, and our oldest was like Lolo and Lola's age, and so I really just pointed to a Lolo and I was like, "Happy 21st birthday, Lolo! How are you feeling?"
Yeah.
He got the idea the second round, so but like the first one was really funny because I refused to act as the youngest.
I ended the poll, so I think we're good. Thank you. Thank you everybody for helping us hold space in institutions. So our volunteers are ready. Dr. Eileen, Jasmine, and Kachi. Okay, I'm gonna start the timer now. Let's go.
I see the angel. I'm gonna go follow it.
Oh, have you met this angel before?
Yes, yes, it's my grandmother. It looks like my grandmother. I'm gonna go. I have to go now.
Okay. Do you talk to this angel a lot? Do they visit you a lot?
Yes, yes, all the time.
Oh, okay. Why is the angel telling you to go outside?
I think that they want me to go follow them and to go seek forgiveness. To go
Okay.
find forgiveness.
Would it be okay with the angel if I went with you outside?
Yes, yes, please come. Let's go outside.
Okay. So where are we going outside?
We're going to the old car there on the corner. You come with me.
Oh, okay. Do you know who this car belongs to?
No, no, I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. So does the angel want us to stand at the car
I think
or
so. I don't know.
okay. If they're did they tell you how long we were supposed to do that?
No, no, I don't know, but you're coming with me, right?
Yeah, of course I'll go with you.
Okay. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Oh, I saw Chachi like unmute. Does that mean she wants to stop it now? Okay, so
Sorry.
she's gonna. No worries. So we'll debrief. Chachi, at what point did you want to like stop the action?
I wanted to stop the action right when she started getting more when Dr. Eileen started to get more delusional. I wanted to kind of like stop and like ask or kind of like change the conversation.
Okay, at what symptom would that be? And then let's play that out and see how Jasmine responds. Chachi. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. At what symptom was that? Was that at the part where, or let's go to the part where she's she wanted to get a bucket, right? She was asking for a bucket. Okay, so from the part of the bucket, Chachi will play that person, and then Jasmine will now be responding to Chachi. So
Okay, so have the bucket. I'm gonna go outside now. Are you coming with me?
all right, so stop. And then now Chachi is going to continue the scene in place of Eileen, and Jasmine will respond to Chachi's actions. Chachi, are you ready? Yes, okay.
Okay.
So Chachi and Jasmine, go.
Do you know what I should do with this bucket?
No, we just bring it. We just bring it. There's food in it.
I don't know what to feel right now.
I don't I feel I'm feeling like I need to do this fast.
Is there anything else that is making you feel this way?
I feel really I don't know. I feel really confused. I have to go do this.
Do you want to take a minute to sit down for a while?
But I really need to do this.
Are you sure? I can sit with you.
Okay.
And
Where-
scene. That was very nice. So
Yeah, good.
what happened, what changed, right? Instead of going outside, it was, I will be here with you and let's stay in this safe space right here. Clap, clap. Yay! Congratulations. All right. Importance of storytelling and mental health and public health, right? Making the creative arts, healing through creative arts accessible to those, especially those who may come from a different literacy level or a different cultural language. It's very important. So imagine just all the different scenarios where you can do this in different languages, different generations, right? All the contradictions that come up. I'm open to being on the Zoom for like, 10 more minutes or whatever, if folks want to stick around and ask questions and just connect and chat. Other than that, like, thank you all for being here. Thank you for opening up in the chat with realizations. Mahalo, mabuhay. Agbiag tiyo mili if you're Ilocano. Yes. Thank you.
So I'll stay on the Zoom because I realized this is my Zoom. I was about to leave.
Yeah, like no filter. People can unmute and stuff like that. Yes, playfulness. Jose Rizal and the connection to his work with mental health and negative projection onto Filipinos.
Let me pause record, stop recording.